Why Ray Dolby Changed Movies Forever. Welcome to Memorandum, a podcast where we bring history's most brilliant minds and inspiring stories into today's conversation. I'm Nefertiti, and today we're remembering someone whose work quietly transformed how the world experiences sound, Ray Dolby. If you've ever sat in a movie theater surrounded by breathtaking sound that feels bigger than life, or enjoyed music without distortion and hiss, you've been touched by Ray Dolby's genius. Ray Milton Dolby was born in Portland, Oregon in 1933 and grew up in San Francisco. From an early age, he was curious about how sound and technology could merge. Imagine a boy fascinated by radios, film projectors, and the hum of machines, not just enjoying them, but wondering how they could be improved. That curiosity shaped his path. By high school, he was already tinkering with audio equipment, laying the foundation for his extraordinary career. He later studied at Stanford and Cambridge, stepping into a world where innovation met passion. His brilliance wasn't loud, it was steady, clear, and deeply intentional, just like the sound he wanted to bring to the world. When Ray Dolby returned from studying at Cambridge, he didn't rush into fame or fortune. Instead, he rented a modest flat in London and set up a small workspace. No glitzy lab, no crowd of investors, just a man, a few pieces of equipment, and a restless curiosity. At that time, audio recording faced a constant enemy: tape hiss. If you've ever listened to old cassette tapes, you know that faint but persistent static that lives in the background. For many, it was just part of the deal. For Ray, it was a challenge that begged for a solution. He worked tirelessly, testing, adjusting, and refining circuits until he created what would become the Dolby Noise Reduction System. Suddenly, the hiss disappeared. The sound was cleaner, sharper, and full of life. Imagine recording studios in the late 1960s, musicians who had always fought with noise, finally hearing their work as it was meant to be heard. That clarity changed music forever. By the early 1970s, film producers also began to notice. Movies had powerful visuals, but the sound often fell short. Dolby brought cinema into a new era. His technology allowed directors to wrap audiences in audio. Dialogue crisp, background rich, every whisper an explosion layered with breathtaking precision. Consider Star Wars in 1977. Lucas wanted viewers not only to watch, but to feel the galaxy around them. Dolby Stereo made it possible. That film wasn't just a visual experience, it was an audio revolution. People walked out of theaters saying, "I've never heard anything like that before." And yet, even as his systems spread worldwide, Ray stayed focused on the human side of sound. He once said his aim was to give listeners a sense of being there. Think about that for a moment. He wasn't selling circuits or wires. He was crafting presence. Let me ask you, have you ever closed your eyes while listening to a live performance only to feel transported? That's Dolby's fingerprint. His inventions dissolved the barrier between artist and audience. They allowed emotion to travel unbroken. Ray's story teaches us that true innovation doesn't always come from asking, "What can I build that's new?" Sometimes it comes from asking, "What can I remove that's in the way?" Today, the name Dolby has become part of our everyday experience. We see it glowing on our streaming platforms, in movie theaters, in headphones, even in smartphones. Dolby surround sound and Dolby Atmos are not just technical features, they're the soundtrack to our lives. Imagine the difference. Without Dolby, films might feel flat, music might sound cluttered, and stories might lose their impact. With Dolby, sound is immersive, three-dimensional, and emotional. That is Ray's gift to the world. Yet, what makes Ray's story so inspiring is not only the technology. It is his quiet persistence. He was not a man who sought celebrity. Instead, he trusted the work itself to carry his name forward. That humility is rare in a time where recognition often comes before contribution. Ray also believed in long-term thinking. While many companies chased quick success, Dolby Laboratories invested in research for decades. That patience turned small breakthroughs into global standards. For anyone building a dream today, his journey is a reminder that growth rooted in patience lasts longer than growth fueled only by speed. There is also a personal lesson. Ray Dolby faced health challenges later in life, yet his legacy never slowed. His vision had already planted seeds in the imagination of engineers, artists, and audiences worldwide. He left behind a culture of innovation that continues to flourish. Here's a reflection. What is the sound you are leaving behind? Not literally, but metaphorically. What impression, what legacy will echo after your work, your creativity, your time? Ray Dolby shows us that greatness is not always about being the loudest. Sometimes it's about being the clearest, removing noise, whether in technology or in our own lives, so the message shines through. As we close this episode of Memorandum Podcast, let's take a moment to appreciate what Ray Dolby gave us. His life reminds us that even the quietest innovations can transform the way humanity experiences art, connection, and memory. Every time we are moved by a song, every time a film soundtrack carries us into another world, we are hearing his vision come alive. Ray once said that his goal was to let audiences forget the technology and simply feel the story. That is a philosophy worth carrying into our own lives. When we focus less on being noticed and more on creating meaningful experiences, the impact speaks louder than any spotlight. Thank you for listening to Memorandum Podcast, a podcast from Nefertiti where history's voices return to inspire us today. If this story of Ray Dolby sparked something in you, I invite you to subscribe, Nefertiti, and follow us on your favorite podcast app. Share this episode with someone who loves music, cinema, or simply stories of human brilliance. And here's your invitation. Join me tomorrow for our next episode of Memorandum. We'll continue this journey through remarkable lives, exploring the wisdom and inspiration they left behind. Until then, keep listening, not just with your ears, but with your heart, because every sound, every story carries an echo worth remembering.